Thank you, Leanne, and welcome everyone. It's so nice to be at a conference where we can really dig into one topic and also one kind of age period. So I'm going to be talking about the Feeding Infants and Toddlers studies. And looking at, first of all, giving a brief overview to put the findings, the results into context of what the overall study is, looking at defining how we classified beverages, and then really looking at what young children are consuming. This will go through from birth through age 3. And then also looking at some evidence gaps. So the Feeding Infant Toddler study was sponsored and funded by Nestle Research and RTI International in North Carolina was awarded the grant. So RTI International designed and conducted the survey and analyzed the data, and the PI from RTI was Andrea Aniter. And then Bill Dietz and I were scientific advisors to RTI. So the study overview is that it's a cross-sectional survey of parents and caregivers of U.S. infants, toddlers, and preschool-aged children from birth to 48 months of age. And FITS, there's been 2 previous FITS studies in 2002 and 2008. The study aims were to collect data on infant feeding practices, nutrient intakes, food intakes, dietary patterns, and lifestyle behaviors. And this was done through surveys as well as the 24-hour recall. And there was a second 24-hour recall on a random sample of children, and the interviews were all done in both Spanish and in English. So the basic study design was 6 months of instrument design and then national sampling using a frame looking at phones as well as home address and an online web panel in order to gather the sample. There was a screening and recruitment questionnaire followed by a computer-assisted telephone interview with the 24-hour recalls and the questionnaire. Dietary recalls were done by certified interviewers at the University of Minnesota using the protocol developed by the Nutrition Coordinating Center. And I wanted to mention that this data was collected starting in June 2015 through May of last year, so it's really recent. We presented the findings at the experimental biology meeting about 2 months ago, and papers are just in the process of being written now. So the sample reflects the geographic and socio-demographic diversity of the U.S. It was a national study. And you can see that there were about 67% white, 14% non-Hispanic Black, 14% Hispanic, diversity in household incomes, and 36% of the children were receiving WIC, and 34% of children were firstborn. So the overall sample was 3,234 households with at least one or more children under the age of 4. So just to bring out some of the strengths of FITS is that it is the largest, most comprehensive sample of its kind, specifically for birth to 24 months of age. And birth to 24 months of age was oversampled because there's not, in order to really look at coming up with more dietary guidance for this age group, that there's not a lot of information on. They used very strong methodology for data collection. The sample reflects geographic and socio demographic diversity of U.S. households with one or more children under 4 years of age. There's limitations that are inherent in any large national survey with possible selection bias, although sample weights were used to reduce selection bias. And there's always problems collecting dietary information with children from birth to age 4, really any population, because of self-report data. But they did use what's really considered the gold standard for dietary recalls or dietary assessment using dietary recalls. So how we classified sweetened beverages was that the FITS 2016 food groups were updated to mirror as closely as possible the What We Eat in America, which is what the food groups that Haynes uses. So for this presentation, sweetened beverages are defined as soft drinks, fruit-flavored drinks, tea and coffee, sports drinks, and other drinks such as caloric-flavored waters or energy drinks. So 100% juice was not included, nor was flavored milk. This is a busy slide, but I just wanted to show, again, this goes from birth to through age 3, and you can really see the change in diet at 12 months of age. And that's also what Anna Marie just mentioned. But this shows percent of total calories consumed across all of the age groups. And if you look at the sweets and snacks, that look at the this is percent of total calories. So if you look at that pink, by the end of age 3, about 20% of calories are coming from sweets and salty snacks. With juice, it's pretty stable. It's about 3%, and fruit is also pretty stable at about 4%. This next slide shows energy intake, and this is calories per capita. With the FITS data, and you can see the increase in calories for children. And you can see that even at 3 years, about 225 calories are coming from sweets. This is percent consuming beverage type on the day of the survey. And so you can see that among all of the age groups, water and milk are the most prevalently consumed beverage. And you can see that the red bar is sugar-sweetened beverages. And again, you can see how important that transition, especially at 12 months of age. All of this, I'm going to go into more detail on the types of beverages. But I think what's important here is that you can see, if you look at 36 to 47.9 months, that is the time that sugar-sweetened beverages really increase much more so than, or they're more prevalent than 100% juice at that time. And you can, if you just look at the red bar, you can see that starting at 6 months, it increases at every age group, so that by 3 years of age, 50% of children on the day of the survey had a sugar-sweetened beverage. They're still drinking water, but it's really been replaced by a lot of these beverages. I just wanted to mention one thing, since this is about beverages, that the early introduction of cow's milk is a concern. The recommendation is no cow's milk before age 12 or age 12 months. And you can also see that about 20% of toddlers did not consume any milk on the day of the survey. So when we're really looking at beverage consumption and looking at dietary quality, dairy consumption and milk is an issue for these young children. Okay, so this is the percent of children consuming a sugar-sweetened beverage by age. This is the percent consuming on the day of the survey. And again, very similar to what Anna Marie showed with Ann Haynes. It increases from about 1%, at 6 months of age, and just gradually increases. And when you think that 50% of children in this country are having a sugar-sweetened beverage at age 3. This shows the number of calories consumed, and you can see that, again, starting from about 12 months of age, as Tina had mentioned in her opening remarks, about 100 calories per day. And that's a lot when you think of children, like 2- and 3-year-olds only need somewhere between like 1,000 and 1,400 calories per day. And so 100 calories just from sugar-sweetened beverages that have really no other nutrition merit at all is a lot of calories for these really young children. This shows that, again, it shows the 50% of sugar-sweetened beverage on any given day for young children, but it also shows what they're drinking. And you can see that fruit-flavored drinks are by far the most prevalent sugary drink. Soft drinks, which is in the red bar, which I'll talk more about, that's less than 10%. But it's really the fruit-flavored drinks that you can see starting from really 6 months of age that just increases much. So that, I think, is really important to consider. And when you look at this, just makes it a little clearer, the percent consuming fruit-flavored drinks. And the calories, almost all of the calories from sugar-sweetened beverages are coming from fruit-flavored drinks. And again, these usually have a lot of sugar and they come in those awful colors sometimes too, the pink and the blues and greens. So I think that, I think this is really important to look at, just the amount. This is on a per capita basis, so mean calories per capita for the different types of SSBs on the day of the survey. So the mean it goes from 30 to 40 calories per capita, and again, almost all of those are coming from fruit-flavored drinks. And this, I think, is important because I put the percent of total energy on the top of the bar. So at age 12 months of age, children are receiving 5% of total calories per capita from SSBs, and this is increasing to 10% of total calories at age 3, and most of these are coming from fruit-flavored drinks. When we look at the FITS data trends from 2002 to 2016, we found the same as Haynes did, that fruit juice consumption has been decreasing. And when you look at the FITS study on trends in SSB consumption, the trends tend to be a little mixed. You can see that it looks like they have been decreasing since 2002, and they're decreasing among children 21 to 24 months of age. But some of the other age groups, like 9 to 12 months, it looks like there's a slight increase. So there's not really an overall trend pattern here. We also looked at SSB consumption by race and ethnicity. This is for children that are 2 and 3. And you can see that It's the non-Hispanic blacks that have the highest intake of sugar-sweetened beverages, quite high, so that for children up to through age 3, about 62, that's 2/3, are consuming a sugar-sweetened beverage. And again, almost all of that is from fruit-flavored drinks. And you can see that there's very little difference in soft drink consumption across the different ethnic groups, as well as the other areas. It's really the fruit-flavored drinks that's really increasing, is responsible for the increased consumption in blacks. And this is the total calories consumed by race and ethnicity. And for black children, it's 152 calories per day, and compared to overall about 116 calories. So the major findings are that 15 to 20% of toddlers did not consume any milk on the day of the survey. So I think when we're talking about what kids should be drinking, it's not only reducing sugar-sweetened beverages, which is critical, but also milk consumption is important for this age group, or dairy consumption. Fruit juice consumption has declined among all age groups. There's early introduction and substantial calories from fruit-flavored drinks. Fruit-flavored drinks are the most commonly consumed sugary beverage, and about 110 calories per day consumed. When you think of in this country that half of all 3-year-olds consumed a sugary drink on the day of the survey, that should be really alarming. That is, I think, a lot of calories and a lot of sugar. At age 3, 10% of total calories are from sugar-sweetened beverages, and a high percent of non-Hispanic black children consume SSBs, especially compared to white and Hispanic children, but all children, I think, are over-consuming them. Just some of the data that because the data is so new that we haven't been able to look at, which is important, is beverage consumption patterns, when they're drinking these and where. Looking more closely at income, although some of the other studies have found that there is not really income, that all children really are drinking these sugary beverages. Looking at beverage patterns in different child care settings versus home. And I think we really need to look more at parent and caregiver attitudes and beliefs. Soft drink consumption really has decreased. A lot of parents know that it's really unhealthy, but a lot of these fruit-flavored drinks, parents don't know. And they show pictures of fruit on them, and it's just flavored water. There's no juice. In fact, they call them juice drinks when there's very little there's very little juice in them at all, if any. So I think we need to do much more on getting parents aware. And we also, I think, need to look at questions like, do children who consume few SSBs have higher intakes of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lower energy intakes? So if we are reducing SSBs, we're really having a focus more on the overall diet and quality of diet. And USDA just came out with What We Eat in America brief on added sugars, and they found that both children and adults that consumed at least the recommendation of 10% or less of calories from added sugars also had better intakes of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. And we also, I think, need to know what happens after age 3. Again, this was only up until the end of age 3. So, you just wonder if that probably keeps continuing at least through age 5. And I think that's it. So thank you.